Hello, this is Cecil Sunk here from Hockeyet.com, and I'm going to be talking about, in this video, something that builds off of my video on a fast third. If you check out on Hockeyet.com my PVZ fast third video, you can go ahead and, you should go ahead and check that out so that you can understand how to play what I'm going to talk about in this video. And this one covers a very strong style that ends up resulting in a very tough to hold push from the Zerg player's point of view that will oftentimes kill a Zerg player right before their hive tech kicks in. The idea is that with Immortals, Stalker, Sentry Zealot, and emphasis on Templar tech, you can have an extremely tough to stop push that can't be really held off very well until Broodlords are out. And the reason for that is because you have units in your army to take care of everything. You have a bunch of Zealots to take care of infinite amount of Lings. You have Templar to take care of Hydras, lots of Lings, Infested Terran, Infestor. Storm is good against all of those things. Feedback is very good on Infestors. And then you have Immortals for any armored units, namely Roaches. And Sentries, of course, are just the support caster that makes your army a little bit stronger overall. And this composition is not very good against Broodlords, which is why it's important to hit just as they're trying to tech to Broodlords, or as they're getting their hive tech. That's when your push will be strongest, as you'll have a very healthy mixture of a proper composition at that point in the game, and they will likely just crumble to the attack, unless they have very strong macro and lots of units, as well as good micro. Okay, so I'm going to speed through the early game, as the early game is covered by my video on a fast third, and here's the sort of position you should be at, right around 11:30. I have 102 food, as I took my Nexus a little bit later. I opted for some pressure in the early game. If I hadn't done such aggressive pressure, I would have had probably about 10 to 20 more food at this point in the game. Make sure that you have a very good amount of warp gates. Here I have like 5 or 6. I'm going to be laying down a whole lot more. The reason you need a lot is because Templar come from the gateways, Stalker come from the gateways. Basically you're getting every type of gateway unit except the DT, so you need a lot of them. And let's go ahead and watch the replay. So here I'm building up my composition of Templar. In this game I'm going for a High Templar with Storm. High Templar with Storm is much stronger for a very strong push timing attack. However, Dark Templar is better for harass before your attack, which I'll show in the next replay. So as you're building your Templar tech on your 3 bases, make sure you're not losing any probes to Mutalisks and you're not losing the game to any sort of Roachling push. And you can see here maps that you can defend with 2 ramps with a fast third is excellent for this build. Shakur's Plateau is good for this. Anything that you can have a wall off on your third is good with this. Of course, this map is as well. In order to not die from Roach push, all you need is a few force fields on each ramp. Roachling is never going to get up this ramp successfully. And here's my first 2 Templar. It's best to have these on a separate hotkey than your entire army so that you can micro them accordingly. And now, once you have a few Immortals, since you already have a Robo, it's very smart to invest in a Warp Prism. And the reason for this is because you don't really have presence on the map, but with a Warp Prism, you can do some serious damage if your opponent doesn't handle it properly. And I'll go ahead and show you what happens with the Warp Prism while I'm building up my Templar and gathering energy on my Templar. I end up taking out a hatchery here for free, and as these Zealots are dealt with, it's good to try to pull up a few of the Zealots, just so that you don't lose them for nothing, because if you do pull them up, you can go ahead and move into another base. And you can see here, he moved all his Lings to the middle of the map, as my army moved out a little bit. So he's kind of focusing on my army, and he dragged all of his Lings that were dealing with my Zealots. So I just kind of lift them up and go into the next base. And I actually end up getting this layer as well. And these Zealots are pretty losable, as my main concern is not losing heavy Vespene units, which you can see there's a fight going on here. And if I was warping in Vespene units, that means I'd have less Templar, less Stalker, less Immortal here, and my main army would be very weakened. So you can see how much damage these storms are going to do. The great thing about these storms is now that all of these roaches are half health, Immortals can basically like 1-2 shot the roaches. I accidentally got caught out in the open prematurely, but that's okay. It's not too big of a deal. In order to make up for my loss of Immortals, you can see I go 3 Robo and just churn out a ton of Immortals, and then I can, even though my push is going to be delayed a bit, I can still push out with a very, very strong Immortal, Soccer, Templar push. And you can see that even though he did kill my army, I was able to take out his lair, so that will delay his tech as well, and we're basically on even footing. I probably have a slight lead, since I didn't lose 2 mining bases. I only lost my army. Quick note, full wall off with gates is smart if you don't have any sentries, as I'm not going to have a force field to block this location like I did earlier. Continually harassing with my warp prism. As I'm harassing with my warp prism, I posture my army in the middle of the map to give more of a multi-pronged pressure feeling to the Zerg player. Once I have a few Templar with Storm ready and a good amount of Immortals, this is the time you can push. Really, you just wait for a high Immortal, high Templar count, and then you can go ahead and execute the timing attack. You do need to make sure that he already doesn't have Hive, however, as if he gets Hive and Broodlords, you're going to lose the game. So the whole point is to hit before any sort of Hive tech can kick in. And losing those 4 Infestors pretty much is like the last nail in the coffin. He's not going to be able to stop this push no matter what. He needed as much as he could possibly get. And uneven supply with a Protoss at this point in the game is very, very bad for this Rune player. So you can see here he has Hive tech, but because of my very strong army here, he's not able to tech to Broodlords like he would want to. And as a result, there's nothing that his army can do to touch mine. I have feedback for any of the Infestors. I can storm all of these lings and they'll dissipate. Storm on the roaches to lower their HP. Immortals will just clear out all the roaches immediately. And you can see that in effect here. Feedback, storm, and now my Immortals clean up the very small amount of roaches, and my food is pretty much where I started when I started the push. His is down to 84 and he just leaves. Here we are right around the 11:30 mark. This time I'm stopping at 12:15. Here's the position I'm in. About 60 probes. I'm taking my third. However, I'm up against Mutiling. Luckily, with the fast third build that you all should know very well by now, you have Blink, and you should be getting +2 attack, and you should be able to take care of Mutalisks just fine, even if you weren't able to scout them properly. And you can see in reaction, I'm getting a Dark Shrine, juxtaposed to the previous replay where I got a Templar Archives. And we'll see how this plays out and how to play with Dark Shrine harass. Follow it up with a push instead of a strong Storm, High Templar, Immortal Stalker push. Right when the Dark Shrine finishes is the time, and of course I'm defending Mutalisks during this whole thing. The Blink Stalkers allows you to do this. If you ever get links around all of your Sentry Immortal, it's not a big deal. Go ahead and just force field. I actually have a video on this sort of force field macro, and you'll be perfectly fine. So right when your Dark Shrine finishes, and you've taken care of any aggression that's occurring, you can go ahead and even out the worker counts like so. I have 52 probes, he has 71 drones. Warping in 3 Templar can probably even this worker count out, and thus keep me in the game. So here we go. 3 Dark Templar. You want to send 1 to each base. Try not to let 1 Dark Templar attack long before another Dark Templar attacks. For example, if there was a hatchery here, I'd let my Dark Templar just sit and wait. You want all 3 of your Templar to be in position at all of the bases that your opponent has, and then start attacking. Because once the first swipe occurs, your opponent's going to start getting detection. So if you make all 3 swipes happen at once, all of your Dark Templar will have more time to attack. And that's what I tried to do here, although for some reason I had my last one linger around for a while. So let's go ahead and watch the drone count. As your Dark Templar gets into the base, what you want to do is queue up attacks like this on the drones. And you want to do this in each base. queue up attacks on all the drones with your Dark Templar. And then if your opponent pulls all the drones, you don't want to chase them. Go ahead and try to, or at least most of the time you won't want to chase them, as they'll just infinitely run away from your Dark Templar. You can go ahead and try to target it on some sort of key structure. In this case, I'm trying to get the Spire. If I do get the Spire, that'd be a devastating blow to my opponent. I think he actually keeps it alive. However, he's losing a whole lot of mining time here. I've completely cleared out all 3 of his bases from mining, and as you can see, the worker counts are back down to even, which is exactly what I aimed to do with the Dark Shrine tech. Dark Shrine tech is also great against Speedaling. Now I have access to Templar. The best thing about these Templar is that they cost 25 less per... An Archon will cost 25 less per Templar. So you can save a little bit on Vespene as opposed to High Templars costing 300. Now your Archons cost 250 Vespene. Now that I've evened up the drone counts and I actually took out the Spire, I'm going to be able to just defend the Muta Harass as best I can, and once I get a decently sized army, I can make sure to hit him as hard as I can before he gets Hive Tech, and I should be able to win the game very, very convincingly. Because this Zerg player just took too much damage, and my army is just too well built to combat his composition. So we'll go ahead and see how I go about doing so. If you have a robotics facility, you're likely not going to be constructing Immortals in this case, because Immortals aren't very good against Mutalisks or Lings, so use it to construct Observers. Having an Observer above this north base here would be great to spot for Mutalisks. Same within this location, have one on the map, have one on his bases if possible to look for Hive Tech. All of those things are great. Your robo's not doing anything else, might as well do that. You can also try to get a Warp Prism out for some harass. But like I said, my main focus is just to try not to take like any damage if I can. And then once I get a couple Archons, my +2 is finished, lots of Blink Stalkers, I can go ahead and just take out his army. The Archons are especially important as they deal splash damage against the Lings and Mutalisks. However, my opponent is smart enough not to fly the Mutalisks over my Archons, and you'll see that I end up just chasing them with my Stalkers instead. So now, when you move out to clear some creep, your opponent's likely going to counterattack. I have some preliminary defenses in place just for this sort of event. If your Stalkers are getting surrounded by Lings, always smart to sort of blink them back behind the Nexus like so. Let the Archon take some damage, its shields will regenerate in full. Cannon can also take a bunch of damage, it's just some minerals. And then these defenses held off. I had a cannon over here as well. These preliminary defenses just held off the Zerg, Muta, and Ling army from killing their probes, just so that I had enough time for my main army to get here to push them away. And of course, I'll set these defenses back up and rinse and repeat. It's important to be able to shift blink into your map against Mutalisks. This is covered in one of the micro videos I did not too long ago. Shift queuing blink like so. Able to very easily take care of these Mutalisks. These cannons prevent the Mutalisks from flying over to the next base. And he doesn't really have a choice but to fly away, otherwise he'll just lose all his Mutalisks. The army that cannot blink is attacking the rocks while all of this is going on, being time efficient with my units. And now that I've got defenses over here, and a very strong army here, I'm able to just seal the deal and end the game. Basically, I just attack him, chase down the Mutos a little bit, keep attacking. My opponent tries to go for Hive Tech, but as you can see, I'm hitting him while he's creating his Infestors, so he's not going to be able to get up that Infestor Brutal army, even though he actually has 5 mining bases. Here come all the Infestors. I'll be blinking at the Infestors just like I talked about in the macro video, momentarily. Blink at the Infestors. Try to focus down the ones that have a lot of energy. You can see here I'm focusing down this one that has energy. This one has energy. And then that one have energy. And that's it. GG. So I hope you liked the video. and I hope you learned about the very strong time in which you could push with Templar, Stalker, and Immortals. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me in the Hotkit forums, and I hope you enjoyed the video.